Hello, hello. My name is April Malone with Yes, I Work From Home, and this is the podcast. Today I have Elton Curtis with me, and Elton was a coworker of mine in a way until about
Was.
yesterday. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about this story a little bit, and this is why we're here
Uh-huh.
today. So, Elton, you know what? I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, and why don't you tell us about your journey, where you started, where you have been recently, where you're going now.
Okay. In terms of working from home, I've been doing it for a while. It's been a while. It's last before last decade. We're talking maybe 2008, 2009.
Hey, me too.
Um, but that was just due to car issues and all of that. But in terms of like ESL, which is our connection, I've been working in ESL for the past 4 years. I started with Cambly because it was easy. I attained a new diploma to work as a teacher. That's my ultimate goal, to be a public speaking teacher. And
Mm.
I wanted to get some teaching in, but also something I could do on the side. And Cambly just fell right into play.
Could you
But
take a second and just describe
mhm.
what the structure of Cambly is for those who are
Cambly, yes.
not in this world?
Okay. Cambly is so much and so little at the same time. I don't know if you've worked for Cambly, but what Cambly, you have it? No.
No, I
Okay. Well,
haven't.
what Cambly is people. It's very easy. It's what people do is people who don't speak English as their first language. They call in and they talk to you, and it's just simple conversation. And what you do is you correct their English. So if they say something like "I going to the store to get whatever," you say "I am going," and you help them like that. It's
Or
very
I
simple,
went.
very easy.
I went to the store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got their grammar right then. It's very good. Now, the pay itself isn't anything you would want to use beyond a side gig, though. But they pay weekly. I still work with Cambly, kind of, sort of, kind of. Like, that's the beauty of Cambly. You can start and stop whenever you want to. So, if anybody's watching this, if you like, man, I need $50 next week for something, get on Cambly. It should be easy if you have that opportunity. But one of Cambly has a real good group, by the way, on Facebook. So join them. I'm infamous there, I think. But I think I'm famous and infamous everywhere. But one of the Cambly tutors I worked with, her and her sister, they're some of my good friends, Shimona and Nirvana. I just asked Shimona because they both work for other companies. What I would like to make more money. So, are there any other companies making more while I start to look for a teaching job? And Shimona, who is awesome by the way, Nirvana is too. But I asked Shimona, and Shimona said she gave me a whole list of companies, and she broke them down. I think Dada or say ABC. You know how many ABC this and ABC that companies are. I don't remember all of them.
Yep.
But she told me she works for Seer. I don't know if she still does. And iTutor. She told me about Tutor ABC, aka iTutor. And
Mm-hmm.
she told me so much. I was like, I have to work with this company.
Yep.
She talked about their longevity.
Yep.
She talked about how they stand by their teachers and the respect that students give you. And it's funny that I'm saying this now. This was 3 years ago,
Yep.
but she talks a lot about this. And Shimona is someone I buy into what she says
Mm-hmm.
because she's not going to just steer me wrong. If she did, she could have said something else. But
Yep.
no, she talked about iTutor very well, the flexibility, and also the pay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dun
And
dun
I said,
dun.
dun, dun, dun,
There's a little bit of
dun.
yeah. We'll
Yeah,
we'll get to
yeah,
that.
yes, we will. But she basically gave a really good glowing review of this company. And I said, this is the one I'm going to try for. I'm going to try some others, but this is it.
Yeah.
I did my research too, and I applied to them, to their company, and thanks to another friend of mine, shout out to Nikki K.
Yep.
She helped me with that process because Shimona knows her, and that's sort of how I know Nikki.
And actually,
And
she
they
was
helped.
my recruiter and my interviewer as well. Nikki K.
Okay. Nikki didn't interview me though. She couldn't handle that. She would have probably quit because she would have said he's too awesome. But no, no. My interviewer, her name is Isabella. I don't know if she still works with the company or not, but it went well. Funny enough, there's another ESL company, very famous, and I recently applied to them, but I cut off the process.
Ooh.
I don't know if we're gonna say the name.
I might work for them also, so
Maybe you do,
yeah, I
by the
might.
way.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's the one you're talking about.
mine doesn't have the ears. Mine is the orange one.
Okay, well, I don't know about that one, but
Yep.
there's a whole bunch I could say about them.
Right.
But thinking back, Tutor ABC, whatever you want to call them, the interview they gave me and the respect that Isabella gave me to be me and show what I can do, I will always be grateful for her.
Yeah.
Because my one thing, especially now with some of the jobs I have, I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what I have. I just need a fair chance.
Yeah.
And she gave me a fair chance, and I started working. And boy, it was amazing.
So
I'll never forget.
basically, we've probably had a little bit of a similar experience. I started 2.5 years ago, almost 3
Okay.
years ago with iTutorGroup, and I had already started with VIP Kid, and
Okay.
really enjoyed the work. And switching to iTutorGroup, there was definitely some changes. I had only been doing one-on-one students, and all of a sudden, I was not only going, sometimes one-on-one with kids, but sometimes 1-on-6
Yeah.
with adults. So one teacher, 6 clients, and there's a learning curve for that. With VIP Kid, we always have the kids on camera. With iTutorGroup, that's optional, and so you have to kind of like you did
Yeah.
with Cambly, you have to get used to listening, and it's kind of like being more in a conference call. Sometimes it'd be 2 kids and 1 teacher. But I just was like, oh my goodness, this company is wonderful. And I actually took away the hours that I was dedicating to my other company and gave them to iTutorGroup. And so now we've kind of come full circle. So let's keep going.
So it was 2018, right?
Yep.
What to be? Okay,
Yep.
so about the same time. I'm saying 3 years as a roundup. I'm about 3 months away from my 3 years, so 3 months.
Yeah, I think I started like technically July-ish.
Okay, yeah, I started June.
I interviewed in
Well, I think it
June.
was May. I think I started May, but it was like late May and the first whatever. But
I dragged
okay.
my feet on that. I dragged my feet on the whole the onboarding
Starting.
process because it took a while to pass
Yeah.
the IT. They wanted to like remote access to my computer and fix some things,
Oh,
and
okay.
you have to get the backdrop just right and the lighting just right. I think all of that was
I see.
correct. I got my banner and everything that required their logo to be up on the back of my wall, and yeah, that's another thing that changed recently.
Yes,
Keep
that did change
keep
recently.
going. We're trying to be
But
nice here, but I mean, it has been a wild roller coaster of a ride.
it has, because and my whole thing is I would just tell it like it
Yeah?
is. Like Aaron Neville said, tell it like it is. Where's my bear?
I knew you'd
See,
start
I feel bad
singing.
because I had to put him away. Yeah. And this is Bill. I will always keep Bill. Don't change,
The little
don't
teddy
change.
bear.
No, what? I'll always keep him because he was the first thing I got for iTutor. And it's sort of a sentimental thing. So even though I'm not working with them, it's like I can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
Because he reminds me of the good times, and he needs a haircut. He needs a lot. He's old. But the good times were good. They really were.
Yeah. The
And
money was good. The
as
hours were good. The
yes, it
hours were
was.
flexible.
Yes, it were.
The cancellations
They
were
were.
good. So just for full disclosure here, I have recruited in the past for iTutorGroup, and I interviewed people, and I really loved that. But currently, with the current circumstances, I'm not
It's
sure when
not
that's
right.
going to happen, if it's going to ever happen again, just because
Probably not.
they've changed a few things. And, I have a lot of love in my heart for the clients and the company and how it's helped provide for our family the last couple of years, but we're definitely on a rough patch right now.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But truth is the truth, and I can never deny. Like I said, for Isabella and Nikki and Shimona helping me get on and letting me show my
Yeah.
skills. That's something I'll always appreciate because I'm always competitive. So like even now, like I'm gonna start teaching.
Go for it.
3 years, like that was my original goal. You notice that was 3 years ago.
Mm.
The reason why I stopped, or the reason why I haven't taught yet, is because the money was so good with iTutor.
Yeah.
But now that I move forward, it's because of what I've done with iTutor that I've shown my ability to connect with people, my ability to
Yeah.
teach, educate, my ability to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm taking into now. And some local ISDs, let's just say some of them are really good, some of them are bad. But I'm glad the one I'm with now, they're giving me a chance to show my
Good.
stuff. And I'm going to rock with them as much as I
So are
can.
you doing,
The other one,
what are you doing with the
yeah,
school
I was going to say the
district?
other one. For right now, I'm substituting, and hopefully in the fall, I just need to get my
Mm-hmm.
certificate, basically. And that costs money.
Yep.
And that's another problem with iTutor. So you take a lot of money from me,
Yeah.
and we'll get there. But th- I'm basically on that path. And it's like, okay, I'm teaching in the fall full time, but now I'm going to be like a
Mm-hmm.
substitute and do ESL and do tutoring on the side and all of that good stuff. So that's the plan
When I
for now.
was substitute teaching way back when, oh gosh, the mid 2000s, and then I did a little bit here too, but for about 4.5 years, I was a substitute teacher and I loved teaching the ESL students.
Hmm.
Probably, especially the elementary students. And I felt like there was something really special with those kids. It's a little different. And I don't know if I've already gone over this before on the podcast, but it's a little different when you're teaching a student who is living in their own home, in their own country, and learning English as a
Hmm.
second language. Kind of for school,
Hmm.
for academics, for,
Yeah.
opportunities in the future. But it's not as here
Hmm.
and now for those kids as it is for the kids who have already come and have been basically thrown into a new culture and a new language. And sometimes these
Yeah.
kids are translating for their parents. I've seen it happen where, relaying important information that shouldn't have to happen. But I think those kids
Hmm.
really take that responsibility. I just felt like they were my most sincerely eager students, if that makes sense. When I would substitute teach,
That
yeah,
does.
they were just my sweethearts. I loved subbing for like art and the music and the things that I had studied in my undergrad. But those ESL students really, pricked my heart, I think. And that's one reason why I ended up doing this for a few years.
Okay. Well, I'll say, well, one thing too with iTutor is you have a variety of different students. So learning how to navigate certain types of students here and there, and especially the ages. I've taught a 3 year
Mm-hmm.
old. She was so cute. She is so cute. And I've taught an 80-year-old man who was so awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and he loved to just
Yep.
talk. That wide range was really
Oh
good.
yeah,
So,
it'd almost be like whiplash sometimes because you'd have like a 3-year-old preschooler, and then it'd be like a doctor, some 70-year-old doctor who's just trying to.
mhm,
But yeah, like, I hear what you're saying. Like you've got people in the mainland and people out on the islands, and there's definitely different culture coming from different cities, even the bigger metropolitan areas,
uh-huh,
and the more remote areas. Definitely, you see it all. So I hear ya. Um, yeah.
hmm.
What else?
But we gotta ask. I know some people are thinking now, where did it go wrong? Like that. And it's like, well, as Stevie Wonder, everybody loves Stevie Wonder. Everybody. Everybody. No. Stevie Wonder has a song called Rocket Love. I love this song. And he says, you took me riding in a rocket and gave me a start. But at a half a mile from heaven, you dropped me back down to this cold, cold world. I would not do that do it all. You took me riding in a rocket. Okay. But that's sort of what happened with our tutor. Everything was great. The money was great. The flexibility was amazing. The students were great for the most part, or at least the opportunity to build regulars. I remember too, in my training, I heard one guy said, "Oh, you probably won't have regulars. Don't worry."
Mm-hmm.
But I do. I had so many students I connected with, and the money was
Good.
great. I made good money. I know I was going
Yeah.
to make money. But money is why we work. Now, in a perfect world, like Star Trek, where there's no money and we all work to wherever, I would do
Yeah.
this forever. I wouldn't care because everything is taken care of. But Star Trek is not real. I wish it were because I want to travel across space, but it's not. So we need
Mm-hmm.
money. We have to acquire currency for our bills, for the things we want to do. I want to travel to Brazil. I want to travel to Ghana. I want to travel to Kenya. I want to travel to Japan. I need
Yeah.
money to do this. So iTutor was great for that until it wasn't.
And it happened rather suddenly for some people. It was a little bit more gradual.
Yes, it
When
did.
they were doing new contracts with new people, they came in on a different contract than probably you and I did. But the difference with iTutorGroup from the other
Hmm.
company that I work for is that everyone's contracts were different. Like if you got hired at such and such time, you maybe were being paid by the hour, and another one is you're basically, a little bit by the hour, but then a whole bunch based on ratings,
Hmm.
and like it was all over the place. And we weren't really allowed
Hmm.
to discuss our
It
contracts.
wasn't.
Like I can say that I was
Yeah,
on a fixed contract where I used to used
me
to
too.
we always got
Hmm.
paid the same, and we didn't have to stress about those ratings, where other people were stressed about the
Exactly.
ratings, but they could get paid more than we could. And so there was like always this,
Yeah.
never quite sure. But the
Hmm.
hours were reliable for me. I actually, like you said, you
Yes, they
didn't
were.
teach for the school district because you had a reliable income with these people. And I had a few opportunities come up that I basically turned down because I was like, I'm really happy with where I'm at right now.
Hmm. And one thing too, another thing, Shimona, shout out to Shimona, she gave me this idea. But in the golden days of iTutor, you could book almost any hour
Yeah,
at all. So
24/7.
that's how I started working so
Yeah,
many hours. Peak hours are great, of course. You want to work Chinese nights and you want to
yeah,
work weekends. But I would work afternoons here. I would
yeah,
work nights and
yep.
evenings here. That's how you have such a wide range of it. And I even posted about this on Facebook to a lot of people. It's like, try out some different hours. Don't, if everyone's trying to do the one
Hmm.
hour, then, you're not
I
going to get
learned a trick
bookings.
about that
But
though,
somewhere along the
because
way,
I
try it
the very first week or two that I
out. Mhm.
started, I thought, oh, maybe I can just teach while my kids are at school. That'd be awesome. And it never filled. And so I was like, oh, maybe that's just the lucky people who,
Mhm.
have been doing this for years and years and years. What I found out, someone told me, said, try it for 2 weeks in a row. Open up those hours, whether or not you're going to get booked,
Mhm.
get those hours filled, and wait and see. Sure enough, like it's almost as like they were waiting to see if we were going to be
Mhm.
consistent. And when I opened it up the second week, boom, they were
I
full. And
think
I was
that's it.
talking to people in the States, I was talking to people in Russia and Europe. So a lot of these
Exactly.
families are from China, yep,
Those countries.
and
Yeah.
other places. We're having to
Those
be
countries.
careful. There's a
But
lot of reasons to be careful. But anyways, because technically I am still working for this company, and so I still have to be careful. Anyhow, all of a
Mhm.
sudden I found out that there were people that were waking up and taking class at 1 o'clock in the morning, or waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I guess staying up. It was like
Mhm.
2 a.m. for some guy, and I was like, "So it's 2 a.m. where you live? What kind of what do you do for work?"
And
And
college
he's like,
students.
"Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
YouTuber."
Like a lot of college students.
And I was like, "Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So you have so many students so from around the world, and there's
yeah,
lots of students. Think about it. They're based in what, China? That's a
yeah."
billion people
That's a lot of
just
people.
there. And those people have
Yeah,
relatives and so on and so
yep.
forth. So the money was good and the bookings were great. But somewhere along the way, the bookings started to get fidgety. I think that's the biggest part to me though. Because I'm going to get to the money, and that's an
Yeah.
insult. That's beyond a slap in the face. But bookings should not dry up like that so
Well,
quick.
a lot of people
And
have had a change in employment
mhm,
worldwide, and so
yeah,
I feel like it didn't really affect
hmm
me with my ESL teaching until more like May. So with the pandemic, when it started, and for them, the end of January,
hmm
February, for us, March, April, I didn't actually have any reduction
hmm
in income until May, June of 2020.
okay.
That's when it started to hurt.
I didn't until
What's that?
I didn't until I don't think I did until
Oh, lucky
January
duck. It was just
because it
it
was
was less,
well,
but
there
yeah.
was a reduction. Yeah, there was a reduction, but it wasn't. It didn't get bad until basically
Mhm.
this month because like bookings, I understand the
Mhm.
pandemic. We all understand that. So I couldn't just go to bat with them and be like,
Yeah.
"How dare you?" Because it happened to all of us.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not here to point
Yeah.
fingers at anybody for the pandemic because there's no proverb. I think it's East African, but it says if you point the finger, you have three pointing
Yeah.
back at you. So when
Yeah.
you start pointing fingers, blah blah blah. But that's not it because going from 100% bookings to 80%, I
Yep.
still could pay my bills, especially with the
Mhm.
money they paid. Going from 100% one month to 10% the next month with no rhyme or
Mhm.
reason, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? And this is something I know I could talk about because it might affect some of you all. But some of y'all, who am I talking about? Y'all.
You're
Let's
in
say y'all
Texas.
from Texas. Y'all. Y'all love the Cowboys. But no, they fired pretty much every non-native speaker.
Yes.
And we had a lot, and that's bad. My heart went out to all
Right.
those people, especially some of the ones I know. I'm like, that's
So
cruel,
that's one of the
but
things
it's
that they
understandable. I don't justify it. I'm not saying it's good, not at all. I think it's bad. But when the pandemic happens and you have to get rid of people, I'm like, wow. I don't agree with what you
yeah.
did, but you did it. I don't agree with that. So for anybody who's non-native, don't think I'm saying this in the sense of, oh man, I don't care. Like I do, but I do understand if they were going to get rid of someone, that might have been them first.
Yeah, it was really
But
unfortunate.
but you don't do that as
Yeah.
quick as they did. You don't fire people and say, okay, you have
Mhm.
7 days. Like what? You got to let people build up. So that's the pattern I
It was
started
there were
noticing.
a few stages
But while
because
people,
first they were well, and part of it, and I have to give this back to or I have to say this in defense of all of these companies. The rules got really
hmm
strict with mainland China about a year ago or so. And
oh,
so
I forgot about
that
that. Yes, they
wasn't
did.
the company's decision. They required everyone to have a
hmm
specific kind of degree and this very specific kind of certification. And that put a lot of people
Yeah.
under the gun to finish their bachelor's degree, to get their, TESOL or TEFL or something like that.
hmm
TOEFL, all the different.
Yeah.
So that was like the first weeding out. And then it was the non-native speakers. And then,
hmm
they were just letting
hmm
people go for lots of reasons or not letting people pass the interview process because they didn't have the lighting just right. So I feel like
Yeah.
it has been going on
hmm
quietly for some time.
It has. But it's like I said, I'm not. Once again, I'm not justifying it. I'm
Yep.
just saying I understand because it's like, well, I understand where they came from, but I wish they would have done it more on merit
Yeah.
because there are some native speakers who aren't good teachers.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say their names because I honestly don't know them, but it happens. And of course, you have some non-native speakers who
Yeah.
are great teachers. But that's one of those things. It's like, okay, if you must do this, I don't agree with you, but I understand. Now it's us left. That's
Mhm.
native speakers. So why am I not getting bookings when my ratings are very high, consistently top 10%, except for that one
Yeah.
time in that
Well,
other
the
time?
weird thing though is
It's
it doesn't even make sense sometimes because there's okay, first of all, there are so many companies. iTutorGroup was one of the very
Mm-hmm.
first ESL companies that they've really have had longevity. They've been around
Yes, it
for over
was.
20 years. Some of these are newer pop-ups that have just started in the last, 8 years or something like that, 2 years. Even now,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are still trying to start these companies. And so the competition is incredibly crazy for the families to choose which company they're going to go with. And a lot of times people are going for the lowest rates.
Mm-hmm.
Some people start to get worried that, okay, I am a very experienced teacher. I've been doing this for, 3 years, or I've had 1,000 classes, or I've had 10,000
Mm-hmm.
classes or something. I mean, some people have been doing this literally full time and beyond for, some people have been around
Yeah.
for 15 years. And then they start to make more money. Sometimes there's a raise involved with teaching so many classes. And so then people start to say, wait a minute, are they only keeping the people who make, or are they only giving the classes to the people who make the least amount of money? So there's been that question. Now yeah, but here's
Mm,
another one. You're saying, we're talking about this company, iTutorGroup, has let go of a lot of the non-native speakers, where another company, the other one that I
mm-hmm.
work for, is all of a sudden hiring non-native speakers or people from other countries that wouldn't normally have met their original
Mm-hmm.
criteria. In the beginning, IVIP could only would hire people from the States and Canada. You could live anywhere, but you had to have that North American accent
Yeah, you have to
and
be.
eligible to work in the
Mm-hmm.
States. Where iTutorGroup, here's another thing that they did that was, we were talking about the contracts being different. One of the reasons the pay was different for a lot of people was depending on where you lived. So the cost of living in one country might be different. It doesn't matter what city you lived in, they didn't care.
Yeah.
But people in the US got such and such pay, and people in South Africa, like your friends probably, got
Mm-hmm.
different
They
pay
sure did.
versus the people who were, and who knows where. Yeah,
Yes, they
very
did.
different, very different pay.
Unfortunately, that bothered me. But yeah, that's one of those things that it's when you got rid of all the other people, you got rid of the waves of people who didn't have a bachelor's degree. Then you got rid of the waves of people who didn't get their certification, the TEFL, the TESOL, Chippewa, whatever, Toblerone,
Now you're making
whatever.
me hungry.
But they got rid of them. Then they got rid of the native speakers, and that was like, but I'm still left. So priority is people who have the highest ratings, right? Americans, that's me. I I have, and then people who favored you. I have a
Hmm.
lot of favorites at all kinds of hours. So where did all of my students go? They said, and this is when I should have known better. I was thinking about this today, and it was one of those like, you think about something and you're like, and another thing. I was looking at all my paychecks. You know what some of my biggest months were? February and March. You know why? What happens in February in China or late January? Something, some kind of
Yeah.
festival, some kind of, oh yeah, New Year. Chinese, the two biggest moments, two biggest times a year are summer, because of course kids are out of school,
Hmm.
Chinese New Year. So we've been hearing all these past 3 years, Chinese New Year, you might get a bonus. I understand why they couldn't do
Right.
that because of COVID. But you're going to get so many students. We have too many students. We need
Hmm.
teachers. But why am I waking up to
Yeah.
green?
Meaning no students.
Yes, yellow means you have
Hmm.
a class booked, not
Hmm.
scheduled.
Yeah.
That always bothers me how they mix those up. But that means you have classes. And green means you just have a slot. You have to wait at least an hour or until an hour is up before you get there. But I went. And some days it's not the luck of the draw and whatever. If it happened one day,
Oh,
it's
I can
okay.
sleep in.
I don't like it, but exactly. I'll go back to sleep a minute, or I'll watch whatever or read whatever. 2 days, it's like, huh? But a whole
Hmm.
week, then 2 weeks. And this has been happening to a lot of people, but not me. And I rationalized it, and this is my fault. I rationalized it because my ratings are always good. If you remember from Facebook, I made a post very recently. That was probably my breaking point about how I'm still standing. I quoted Antoine Fisher. because I love that movie. But I forgot I worked with this company. I forgot I had a class. And I checked at the last minute and I logged in 6 minutes. And I killed it because I know who I am. Okay. I know how great of a teacher I am. I didn't check my ratings. I don't have to check my ratings. But out of curiosity, just to prove my point, I did. All tens.
Wow.
All of my students in the class were like, oh, this teacher is so great. I want him again. And that hurts now because I quit. But also, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But my point is, if my ratings are stellar and they've been getting better and better, why am I not getting these classes with my favorites? At least give me my favorites. I could count 10 students who I know want to see me easily. And that's 10. And that's not even kids and adults. If I separate them, then I can start naming a whole bunch more. And I've seen, I've had students, I'm like, well, I haven't seen you in so long. And I'm like, I wish I could, but it's only one me. And
someone else beat you to the punch.
So where are these? Where are these other people? Where are these students that I'm missing? So that bothered me. And then something else happened. I guess this is the part where I would teach a rhetorical question, since I'm in teaching mode and thinking. That's what I sometimes do with my students, and they're like, rhetorical, yeah. But what is one thing that will make anyone quit a job, no matter how much they love it?
Take away their money?
Exactly.
Ding, ding, ding.
There is something, and this is for anyone who works with iTutor. I'm sure they know. Not like the teachers, but the staff, the faculty, the principal in this proverbial iTutor school. But the powers that be, you cannot ask people to take less money than they had before. This doesn't work. It never works. Even in situations where it has worked, because you think that it might work, it always leads to a rebellion. Always does. When people are used to a lifestyle that they have earned, we're not benefactors of some rich parents. We are people who've acquired and developed our skills to the point to where we can perform and provide a great service that this company is giving to their clientele. We've earned this money. It is not entitlement, because that word has dirty denotations and connotations, really. Entitlement can be a bad thing, but we are people who have earned this pay. You say you're going to pay us this much money. That money was good. I made a little bit less for adult classes, for 45-minute classes, but it was still worth my time because it was only $2 less.
See, mine was the same.
Okay.
So
no matter, you're probably the same.
No matter if I taught kids or adults, a group class, a single class, or a demo class, I got paid the same all the time. Unless I earned an extra bonus for recruiting somebody or helping bring in a new student.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a different level of fixed pay then. My fixed pay was like this. I made a base rate for a certain type of class. For a 25-minute class, it was a certain amount. Plus, I would get, 50 sessions. I would get $1 and for every session, and attendance bonus.
Yep.
It's funny how they got rid of the attendance bonus. What I hated. Because I always made it. I needed that money. Yeah. And I became to rely on it. So I never canceled. That was another thing. I don't cancel.
Yep.
The only times I canceled was times where I was sick or there was a mishap with the computer, but I was on top of that.
I also almost never canceled. I almost always got that attendance. If you teach 50 sessions in that month, you basically get $1 for every single class. On top of as soon as you hit 50 classes, you earn the extra $50, and then every class gets an extra $1. So if you taught 150 classes in a month, you get $150, which I lost one time. The very last class of the very last day of the month in August, like a year ago, something wouldn't load correctly, and
Um,
it was the very last class of the month. I lost
so
$150.
you just,
Yep.
oh,
Well,
very frustrating.
let's move on a little bit. Like we can get to the big thing. So they sent us an email and they said, "Good teacher," or some whatever they say in their emails.
Hmm.
We're going to offer you another contract. If you would like to accept this, click here. And every single time we'd come in to teach, it would actually appear on our screen and be like, "Sign the contract. Do you want this new contract?" And we'd be like, "No, no, no,"
Hmm.
because we could see that it would make us less money. And then one day we got the
Exactly.
email. Do you want to do it? And it basically said, there was an email that just said, "This invitation is mandatory. So if you do
Hmm.
not sign this contract now, then your job ends in 2 weeks." And that's the day that we were
Yes,
all
they
like,
did.
"Oh, they did that." They really, because when we agreed to our
Hmm.
contract, as long as we didn't change our contract, we were able to keep our terms forever. And so I never had to
Hmm.
change. If we wanted to change our contract for some reason, you would lose the benefits of your
Yeah.
original one. And we were like, "No, I'm going to keep this good one that I got."
Yeah.
So
But
is that when
that's,
you made your
and that's up
decision?
to our discretion.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, it's tough to say because it was the point of no return.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
It was, sometimes when you're in a bad situation, there's a straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
But before then, that was the moment where you say, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I, even in relationships before, I've had a girlfriend before where I told myself, I'm gonna break up with this girl. I can't do this.
And once that thought
But
enters your
you
mind,
still, when the thought enters, you're like, but I want to see what I want to make this work, but I don't think she will. Or you have a friend who is doing something bad, and you say, hey, we got to get this fixed. If
mm-hmm.
we can't get it fixed, it's over. I can't be friends with you anymore. That thought entered my mind when it said mandatory. I was already looking for extra places of employment because I got green. And you see, what did she say? If you teach 50 sessions in a month or more, you get $1 for every session. That is a bonus. That is good to get. I made that every month except the first, simply because I didn't work as many hours.
Mm-hmm.
This month, I didn't get that.
You got it
And I have
every
more
month
hours.
out of 3 years.
Well, 50 sessions.
Yeah.
50 sessions. Teaching 50 sessions is easy.
Yeah.
Because I started adding up more. And I quit Cambly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can come back to Cambly, and I do that from time to time. But I was like, I'm going to put everything in this because it's that. But I can get 50 sessions by like the end of,
The first
like the
week.
middle of week two.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, maybe not the first week unless
Yeah.
it's really good, like during summer
Yeah.
or during Chinese New Year season.
Yes.
I would do
Yes.
that, but now
Yes.
I don't.
I was doing
Now don't have
I
that.
was doing 10 hours in a row sometimes on the weekends, on my Friday nights and Saturday nights. I would get 20 hours
Mhm.
in 2 days.
I would load up. I would do. I got to the point where I would do 25, and some weeks 30.
Yep.
But I would do everything like Monday, Tuesday, take off Wednesday, Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. There was
And
actually about,
well, I had to work
there
Sunday
were 7
at
months.
one point, but
There was a time that I worked 7 months without taking a day off because I was working between two companies, and I was
hmm
working about 40 hours between the two companies, but I would do 5 hours Monday through Friday in the morning from like
okay.
2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then I would do the other 20 on my weekend. And that I hit a moment of burnout. That was, never taking a day off for seven
hmm
months is not advisable. And
Yeah,
it's unhealthy.
it's not.
So where are you going
It
now?
really
So
isn't.
you basically, did you sign the contract or not?
That was the thing. I said, good. I can't teach adult classes anymore because I make less. The insult was they dropped me $4, no, $5
Mm-hmm.
less on my adult
Mine too. Yep.
classes. Well, my kid classes would have been a little bit less.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, okay, I love you, I tutor. I
Mm-hmm.
want to make this work. But in my mind, I'm saying, okay, I'm over the edge. I'm not gonna marry you, but I still want to make this work the best I
Yeah.
can. The straw that broke the camel's back, though, that was almost it. But I signed a contract. But what made me say, I'm not doing this, was looking at my paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
We get paid on the 10th of every month.
More or less.
And I have, well, yeah, basically. I have bills, of course. I just moved, so
Mm-hmm.
I have more
Mm-hmm.
bills related to moving.
Mm-hmm.
Having to scramble and pick up other jobs and do other things and really have to dip into a whole bunch of other stuff, go beyond savings, was a big deal. I made $1,100 less this month than I did the month before.
That hurts, especially when you're trying to get a security deposit or all those things.
But now you've taken away my ability to make money because you're not giving me classes. And then you offer me a lower contract that I'm forced to
And
sign.
then,
And looking at that, and then when I looked at my paycheck, it's something I forgot. If you don't make $500, that's how little money I made last month. If you didn't make I've recovered, by the way, doing other things. But if you don't make $500, they charge you.
what?
They charge you a fee.
Is it your bank?
Yeah.
Is it your bank or iTutorGroup for the transfer?
They charge you a fee if you do not make $500.
Oh man, I've probably had that a lot of times because I've really reduced my hours with them in the last few months. So the other thing
So
is that
if you don't make 500,
they also,
seeing that, I was like, so let me get this straight. Even if I work 5 hours, I calculated it in my head. I'm still losing money. And I wouldn't be making the same amount of money. And you know what I saw? Normally on Friday nights, that's always children. They gave me an adult
yep,
class,
I had
a
a
group
feeling.
class. And I said, I don't know if I could say this here because I don't know if your audience is sensitive to it. But it's 2 words that you say before you quit anything.
I don't know
That's
what
what
you're
I'm supposed
saying,
to
so
say.
just go ahead and say it.
Oh, well, like Ghostface Killer said in Wu-Tang, that. I'm done.
Yeah,
I quit.
got it.
This is what I did. Right when I was going to go quit, you know how they show you how many days you've worked with them? And they're like senior consultant, this many classes. I saw it was like 997 days. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to cancel all my classes until I get to 1,000. And that's what I did. So on the 1,000 day, when I see 1,000 days, I sent in a
Oh,
request. I don't know if they've answered it yet, but I said, look, I'm closing my account.
so you
I'm not
decided to
working
do
there
1,000 days.
anymore. Exactly. But I wasn't going to teach because well, it is, but it's like, I don't want to be
Right.
unfair to my students. And that's what hurt. Doing this hurt. It really did because one student I had, the first student, I hadn't seen him in months. This dude is smart. I teach every student to elevate them. But when I get a smart student, I challenge myself to be better and teach them things
Right.
nobody else would. I've been doing this with him. And he was happy to see me again. I was happy to see him. I have him on my schedule tomorrow and the next day, but push came to shove and I won't see him anymore.
Did you cancel
And
those
it hurts.
classes?
I won't see. Yeah, I did. There's another student too. I'm not going to say her name, but she's talented but unmotivated. She plays games during class and I don't know why she still gets me, but I'm like, I'm not going to work here because it's costing me money. I could do something
Okay.
else. I drive for Uber.
Right. So
before
the
I
other
need
thing
it.
that happened when we signed this contract is that it was, how do you say it, retroactive? So I think I signed it, I can't remember. The day that they said sign it or don't, maybe it was around the 7th or so, but they said this goes into effect on the 1st of the month. And so basically when people signed the contract, it changed the payment that they had already earned and it made it less. That was the part
Yes.
that, like I told Elton before we started recording, is that a piece of me died that day that I signed my contract. So I love the students and I'm kind of hopeful. Now this is kind of gray area, but in some ways, I'm like, maybe I can see this through for a few more months while I'm getting on my feet. I'm starting the Yes, I work from home I'm starting the Yes, I work from home stuff and trying to,
Okay.
ramp this up into something that actually there
Hmm.
will be some paid elements. I am still teaching with this other
Yeah.
company. I'm hanging on by a thread with, 5 hours a week is the minimum that I'm committed to right now, with iTutorGroup. And I'm a little bit
That's
hopeful
the
that
group.
maybe with the pandemic clearing up, that students will start to come back. Maybe this sounds terrible, but like now that a lot
Hmm.
of people have chosen not to stay, maybe that means that those of us that have stayed will still have something. Which, when I left Mayo Clinic a few years
Yeah.
ago, I left first. They gave us the opportunity to leave. It was a separation package, kind of like severance, but it was a voluntary separation. And I was like, you know what? I've already got this ESL gig. I'm going to go ahead and say, see you all, in hopes that the people who remained would have more work. And
Hmm.
it ended up
True.
that those people, and most of them ended up leaving anyway. Eventually, they got let go, but they had more time. And I already had this side gig that I turned into my full time gig for 2.5, 3 years. But oh my goodness, it's all the feelings this week. And I
See,
won't lie, I sat on the couch with my husband and I was like, this is a big deal. And when I saw that
it is.
Elton posted a picture of himself putting his polo shirt, which is like the standard shirt that we all wear, it's
Yeah,
required,
red polo. Hmm.
into the trash. Did you actually throw it away? No, it's like a souvenir.
No. Well, I did. Well, okay. The trash was clean, by the way. I just changed the trash, and I guess I'm giving away something. This is something you probably everybody who knows me probably would say, "Oh, of course you would do that." I'm a big
Oh,
Spider-Man fan, and one of the most famous Spider-Man stories is where he quit being Spider-Man and he threw his costume in the garbage. It's like, in his he does that. He's like, I'm Spider-Man no more.
oh,
So I was like, what can I do that's similar to that? And I put it in the clean trash. I just changed the trash, but I probably will actually throw this away. But then I thought, oh wait, I'm gonna take a picture with it because I'm. This is a 3X. I wear a large now. So since I lost so
oh!
much weight, I'm just holding on
It's
to
like
it.
a before and after.
But I'm not.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. When I do that, then
I
I'll throw
have
it
like
away.
7 or 8, like, because I don't always keep up on all of my
Ah.
laundry. So I've got one here, I've got like 3 there, I've got some in the
Mm-hmm.
probably one hanging off by
I
the
see.
bed, and a couple in the
I
laundry.
would always just wash
You just
this.
had one? See,
That's
I
it.
was worried that it would be like
I had one and I would
I was
wash it
worried
all
that
the
it'd
time.
be like wet in the washing machine, because since I've been working these crazy hours for 3 years, I would fall asleep, on the couch, on the floor. One time I fell asleep by the garbage can in the kitchen. And like, what if I
Oh
had to
wow.
get up to teach? And I was like, oh no, I mean, I guess I could have taught with a wet shirt. Nobody would know, right?
They probably wouldn't notice.
I mean, we
Yeah.
do it all.
But no, it's I thought about burning it, but I was like, nah, it's gonna smell. Because if you burn clothes, it doesn't smell good. But no, I really was gonna do that, but then I was like, well, symbolic gesture,
Yeah.
but also Spider
And
Man. That's the
you know what?
Spider Man
It was
reference.
3 good years. It was a few months that were a little rough, but overall, I mean, I'm
Hmm.
still here. I don't know if I'll stick around for several months, shorter or longer. I don't know. Kind of like the rest of the pandemic. I literally don't know if my kids are going to be going to school next year, or if they'll be doing online school, or if they will be doing
Hmm.
homeschooling with us again. I feel like one of the things that we've learned about going through the pandemic is just having to be flexible and not always knowing
Hmm.
exactly what the future holds. But
Exactly.
did you already have this thing with Varsity Tutors in place, or is this brand new for you?
Yes, I
Is
did.
this a work from home thing, or do
I
you have to
did
go in
because
person?
it is. You can do
Okay.
both with Varsity Tutors. One thing with Varsity Tutors, like they're filling in a good gap. Ideally, with iTutor, because this was the year I was going to do it anyway. I need like I make good money with iTutor, but I don't have health care. I don't have
That's true.
pension. I'm tired of having to take off I want
Yeah.
holidays off so I can see my
Yeah.
family. Being a teacher, I get all that, and then more. But no, with iTutor, my goal was to come back in summer and winter and just teach, but they messed that
Mm-hmm.
up, so that's not gonna happen. Varsity Tutors, though, it fills in a good gap, And Cambly, I always had. I took some classes on Cambly. It's just the problem is the pay is so
Hmm.
low compared to iTutor. And Cambly is not. Problem with Cambly, you don't know if you're going to make that 10-20 an hour. Because if you say I'm going to work this hour, you only get paid when you talk to someone. Everybody gets paid the same. They let you know up front it's 10-20, no matter what country you're in. That's why I say it's a good side gig. It's easy. It's just
Do you need to be
whatever.
like
Varsity
available?
tutors, I get paid
Do you
more
need
than
to be like available on a computer? Like, can they see you, or is it just a phone call?
yeah, they can see you. They can. They one thing too with Cambly, I will say, women sometimes get harassed by dudes who flash
I thought that they, I thought that
from certain countries,
I
mostly.
thought that the people on the other end had their cameras off. Is it a two-way video?
They're starting to do that now because too many people do that. It's two-way
Hmm.
video, but some people what they do is you get like 5 minutes free when you sign up. They'll do that and they mess with some of the tutors or they'll say something. Like I've had people say racist
Mm.
stuff or call and do nothing. That's like a downside, but
Yeah.
it's a good side gig. And it's I've made some great friends from Cambly,
Oh,
by the way.
good.
I don't have anything bad to say. Some tutors,
Hmm.
some students, I don't have much bad to say about them. They just don't pay as much. Varsity Tutors pays more. I have more flexibility in terms of what I can teach. I teach public speaking. That's always been my forte. I teach, like I said, math, all this other stuff. Math, English writing, ESL. So I'm teaching English to students. I'm tutoring
Hmm.
now. That's the whole thing. Like, I'm tutoring rather than teaching, but it's some of the same things.
So I have
It's,
a question.
yeah,
I have always
go for it.
had two companies. Well, I had VIP Kid by itself for 6 months, and then I was told to diversify to make sure you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Hmm.
And so, even though my
Hmm.
heart was swelling with a tutor group for so long, I just, it's like if you have to pick a favorite, I don't want to have a favorite because, they both are wonderful in their own way.
Hmm.
Honestly, there are benefits to,
Yeah.
more than one company, and there's pros and cons. There's things that I loved and I didn't love about both companies that I worked for. But I always wanted to have both just in case something went sour with one. Then I could at least switch and have something over.
Hmm.
You had Cambly, did you have Varsity Tutors at the same time, or what was the timeline for that?
I started Varsity Tutors, I want to say this
Okay.
month. Or was it last month? No, it was February. It was February. See, I'm mixing because I started looking into that. Cambly has always been my backup. I always know I can go to Cambly if I
Yeah.
need to. But I picked up Varsity Tutors because I was like, well, Cambly's not a full, like, you can only pay so much with Cambly, whereas other stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a substitute teaching gig. That's my main gig
Okay.
now until and that's going to stop in the
Yep.
summer. So, what I'm Varsity Tutors and also Outschool is what I'm
Yep.
starting. I hear great things about Outschool. I just haven't taught my
Yeah.
first class.
You
I
you got hired.
hear
I'm still in the waiting process.
okay, it should be quick. They hired me
Good.
fast. Varsity Tutors hired me fast too. Like I sent in my resume and all that, and then they were like, "Well, we got to give you a background check. It might take 7 days." And like 2 minutes later, I got that
No
email.
way.
Outschool did the same thing. Outschool is the same way. I was like, okay, I need to do a sample class or whatever, what blah blah blah. And then they were like, okay, you're good. I was like, oh, okay. So I just need to set up my class. I just haven't had time. And I need to plan it because I've been teaching
Yeah.
varsity tutors. I have some regulars. Varsity tutors, if you do sign up with them, I will help you. There's not much there's not much in the way online of help. They don't help you at all. They just kind of throw you in the
Oh.
fire. And what they don't tell you is you get what they call instant tutor opportunities. Like on my phone, might have been one now. But no, like I have it linked up to my phone. I have it linked up to my email. They'll send you a message, but you got to get on it quick because you have 15 seconds to see what the student needs and join.
Oh.
But every person in the world is doing this. So if you are teaching something, if you are tutoring in a subject that everyone else is doing, you're not going to get that many students. But when you spread it around a bit, and you get that first student, it rolls downhill. So now that's how I've built up so much because I don't have any ratings. Now I do. And they send opportunities saying, well, this person needs a tutor. They need this, they need that. Do you think so? But everybody has a chance. So it's a mad dash. Knowing the right times to mad dash, the weekends, night times, is good because you get paid twice a week with Varsity
Twice
Tutors.
a week?
So if you need help, twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays.
Wow. So if you need like cash right now.
So
And so it's almost like a fastest finger
exactly.
situation. Whoever is like ready to teach, like right now, they're
But it depends on subject. One of the students I had, they have all kinds of histories. They have all kinds of writing. My student sent out a feeler saying that she needed help with a college history essay, but there aren't many people teaching college history, so
yeah. Oh,
I got
really?
it. Then another person needed ESL. Another person needed public speaking. So being able to teach like first grade math, second grade math, blah blah blah, it helps you get more opportunities. They also have stuff like art,
Yeah.
music,
Yeah. Well, I think even just
like
substitute
medical
teaching
school.
actually really helps you to become versatile and maybe a little bit more confident. Now, there are a few
Hmm.
subjects that there was, when I was teaching back in Minnesota, there was a young man in our church that I had known him since he was born. Well, he was like in eighth grade when I was substitute teaching, and I knew that he was
Hmm.
going to be in the class that I was going to have the next day, and I was like, "Don't you dare
Hmm.
let anyone know that I have no idea what's happening because you probably know more about the subject than I
Uh,
do, but I just have to pretend like I am, in charge,
hmm.
and well, I am in charge, but like." Hopefully the
Hmm.
lesson plans are good enough that I can just be like, here, watch this video. Or no,
Yeah.
honestly, I was able to hold my own with a lot of things as long as there was some sort of lesson plan. I mean, there's usually like a teacher guide, and you could usually just kind of like preview the script really quick and,
Hmm.
and just do it. But I was definitely on my feet, like literally just winging it a lot of times. And
Well, I'm going to
that
teach
came
high
in very
school,
handy
so
for
I'm going to
iTutorGroup.
do it.
Oh, I did too. I was in the high
Yeah.
school a lot, and that's when I was sometimes a little bit
There
like,
you go. That's what I
yeah.
want. When you just like they drive you insane, and you're like,
And iTutorGroup would do that sometimes to us too. They would change the lesson at the very last second, and so I got
some of
I
this is
got to the
trash.
point where yeah, it's true. I got to the point sometimes where well, maybe they put a lesson in while I was already teaching, and I basically like logged in and just had to start
Hmm.
teaching it, and I'm like eyeballing the slides on
Hmm.
one, in one browser and like just teaching it in the other one.
Yeah.
But if you ask the right questions
Hmm.
and you get other people to speak, you really can still drive the conversation even though it's something
Yeah.
that you're not familiar with. It's a skill.
Exactly. But you know what I'm gonna do? I just thought of something. I had an idea talking to Nikki, and she doesn't know she inspired this. As if she's even watching. But because she mentioned she doesn't even like tutoring her own
Hmm.
kids, and I was telling her about Varsity Tutors. Problem with Varsity Tutors is they pay the tutors much less than they take. People
Oh,
spend
I
a lot
believe
of
that.
money.
I mean, isn't that true with
Like
every company?
one of my students, yeah, but like to a crazy
Mm.
degree. One of my students said I paid $3,000 to Varsity Tutors. I'm like, for real? Could have gave me
Oh,
that money.
wow. That must have been a big package.
But I always had this idea to teach the teachers,
Hmm.
to guide people who teach
Hmm.
ESL. But then I kind of branched and I was like, a lot of y'all have kids that y'all don't want to talk to, that you will pay money to get rid of, but tutor. So one of the thoughts I have, and this is like today, but people who have kids who are struggling, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades with everything. I graduated magna. I should have brought my magna cum laude. It's up there. But I was magna cum laude for a reason, and that's how I'm getting all these varsity tutors. So if you have children who are struggling with something, and it's not trigonometry because I never took that.
Same. Same. I also didn't take it.
I stopped. I didn't take calculus or trigonometry. But no, if you have kids and you need time, I'm like, well, I'll start tutoring them, and I'll give you a hookup.
Are you talking like
I
on
don't
the
know if I can
side,
say
like
this.
independent? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so if you're thinking about
Okay.
branching out on your own, what would that look like for you?
My goal was to teach
Hmm.
public speaking. I've always had this idea the past 10, 15 years to say, okay, I want to independently teach people and then kind of build that into something. I had an idea and it's still in my head called the Rising
Yeah.
Lion Society. I still kind of want it, but I don't know. But anyways, if I did, what I would do, there are a few places. There's Zoom, of course, Facebook,
Hmm.
Skype. There's also in person. Varsity Tutors, you can meet with students in person
Oh, wow.
if you want to, if they're local. Yeah, so like you get their phone number, they get yours, and they call and say, "This is what I
Hmm.
want." Blah blah blah. Some of the parents are
But I
overbearing,
know people that
but
do it independently, like out of their home.
yeah,
So, like contracting, yeah, with
that's
a
what I would do.
company versus, getting that cash directly. Obviously, you'd have to find your own students, and that's kind of one of the things. I have I almost said a
Exactly.
friend, but my massage therapist. I have some physical therapy issues, and I've been being seen more regularly, which is not part of the long term plan. But he was telling me that one of the reasons that he works for Massage Envy is that they book him.
Okay.
They find the clients, they fill his
Hmm.
schedule. He doesn't have to think about it. He can do his work. He
Yeah.
can enjoy his clients and his regulars,
Hmm.
but then he goes home at the end of the day. They take care of all the overhead.
Yeah.
So obviously you take a different cut, when you're employed versus on your own.
Yeah. That's the downside, and that's one thing. One of the reasons I got into teaching was out of sales because I used to be in
Right?
marketing and sales. And then I was in IT, but in sales, referrals are everything. But like for me, I was great
Hmm.
at getting referrals, but sometimes you're a little bit too likable and nice that it's easy to
Oh,
let you down. Whereas in teaching, it's the reverse. Like in sales, it's like, well, he'll be okay. He's always
mm.
smiling. And I'm like hell, I need that money.
Okay.
Whereas in teaching, I'm okay. So in teaching, referrals works a little bit better. So
So
that's kind of what I
question.
would do.
With
But I'm sorry to
Outschool,
cut you off.
now again, that's another platform, but a lot of people are. I mean, I ended up joining a few
Hmm.
groups recently that are basically for teachers who are just trying to get started, and they will give their class for $1
Hmm.
or even free sometimes to build up their client base, to get some ratings, to get some people.
Hmm.
Sometimes if you have, say, a class that could be 8 to 10 students and you already have 8 but you want to uh, sell it out, you can give away. I don't
Hmm.
think you can give them for free, but you could sell it for $1 or discount or refund or something, a portion of whatever that fee would be for someone, to
Yeah.
be able to show that you can fill a class and that looks good. When people see that thing that says this class has sold out 10 times
Hmm.
in the past, it's that scarcity thing.
Hmm.
And you can know that not, it's kind of like airplane tickets. Not everybody paid the same price for that class or that seat. But the thing
Exactly.
about
Yeah.
Outschool and some of these other companies, I don't want to be, I mean, I'm not teaching them with them yet, but um, if you know that they're going to take a 30% cut, you can put your price up the extra 30%.
Hmm.
So with iTutorGroup, we were paid a fixed rate.
Yeah.
You can say, well, my goal is to make, some people are making $100 an hour. No joke. Like if they have a
Hmm.
very popular subject, there's a few that where people will just answer questions. Like if a student is saying, hey, or if a family is saying, hey, we want a class on this
Hmm.
topic, is anyone teaching it? Or hey, we need more classes for the teens.
Okay.
Who's got some?
Okay.
You can just say, hey, I've got one. You might love it. Come check me out. I'll see you on Monday or
Okay.
something like that. It doesn't have to be that you offer a discount every time, but it could be a way to get those ratings and those reviews that you need at the very beginning to be established. So,
Hmm.
well, hey,
Okay. That's
okay.
kind of like varsity tutors too,
Okay, good to know.
just to
Well, I'll
let you
have to
know.
keep that in mind if
But
I
yeah,
have to go different directions.
sorry to cut
But we need to wrap this up. I'd like to ask people if they have any advice that they
you.
would
Hmm.
share with people who are starting to work from home for the first time or who are considering it. Do you have any ideas?
Yes, as you said, as April said, since I'm talking to the audience now, you don't want to just have one nest egg. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. ESL
Yeah.
is very volatile right now because we mentioned iTutor, but she didn't mention. You said it was
Hmm.
VIP Kid, right? Isn't
We
VIP
are
Kid
also
going
going
through
through
something right
something right
now?
now. It's been kind of a sucky year. It happened a little differently. But we had a little, it wasn't necessarily a pay
Hmm.
cut. It was actually, there was a pay structure change. And yeah, most people lost money there. It was different. It wasn't as automatic. It was portrayed with a little bit more forewarning. But
I
eventually
see.
everyone got rolled over to this new thing. It was just more gradual. It was hard.
Hmm. There are other companies too, like I mean, there's GoGo Kids, Say ABC, Dada
I'm sure a lot
ABC.
of
I
them
don't
are
know if
going
they're
through
still
it.
around.
Yeah.
Magic Ears, and Wales
Mhm.
English are sort of
Yeah.
popping up now as the alternatives. Hopefully, that works with you. We all have different experiences, and I'm going to leave it at that in terms of one of those two companies. But whatever you do, if you get hired by Wales English tomorrow, I don't know anything about them. I haven't. I haven't applied. That answers that question, by the way. Um, if you get hired by Wales English tomorrow, and you look at your contract that you sign and you say this is good money, I can make good money. Do that,
Yeah.
but have a backup plan. Whatever backup plan you have, make it reasonable to something you can do, and make sure it's flexible, because if one company gives you flexibility, the other company gives you good security. So you can say, "Oh, I'll do this." Now, working from home, you get used to it unless you can't simmer down. If you're starting to work from home, treat it like any other job. When I'm working, my door's closed, my phone is off. I'm sitting here, I'm working. I have the right type of attire, the right type of mentality. But feel as though, hey, this is work, of
Yeah.
course, and let other
I mean,
people
it's
know
different
that.
for everybody because,
But
I mean, I
enjoy
think
the
it has to do with
privilege.
personality. Like, if you struggle with structure, then
Yes,
you
it
might
does.
need to put some structure in for yourself. If you work for a company that provides that structure, you might
Exactly.
enjoy some of the benefits that you have of being a little bit more relaxed at home. So, you say that, but the last guy said something different. So, like, I hear both, and it just
Hmm.
depends on, like, the nature of your work and your personality and some of your
Yeah,
habits.
it depends on what you do. And since public speaking has become my forte and one thing I look into, you are speaking publicly. You still have to learn how to control a crowd. You can't be too scared to reprimand people, or you can't be
Mhm.
too scared to control the room. It's
Yeah.
just a different room. And if you end up teaching a lot of classes like I did, this is when I'm going to teach the teachers.
One.
Hire me. I will guide you. But basically, notice that you are in
Mhm.
control and maintain that. But keep yourself in control. So control yourself and control everything around you to the
One of the
best that you
things that
can.
I think a lot of people who teach ESL have experienced is you hear it from the people who were long term classroom teachers. They were like, I was teaching for 20 years and I started to teach online, and oh my goodness, it's like a different world. They weren't
Mhm.
prepared. They don't know how to be on camera. They don't know
Yeah.
how to build rapport with a person on the other side of the camera. They don't know how to handle it when someone
Hmm.
brings an iPad to the bathroom, which happens, by the way. There's sometimes protocols in place for what to do if that happens, but I've seen things that I had to report and say, you need to not show that video. You need to remove that video from the internet.
Yeah.
So that it can go the other way. So those of us who have gotten accustomed to teaching online, and also the teachers who maybe just started their first year of teaching and had to do it remotely, when you come into the classroom next year, if they haven't, already been in the classroom this year, there's a learning curve again to, especially if all these kids have been away from the class for a year and they're seeing their friends for the first time. Oh my goodness,
Exactly.
now there's a different kind of crowd control. So it can go both ways.
Yes, again. But also, there's nothing to it but to do it. One of the big problems is it's easy to say, I'll do it later. I'll open some hours tomorrow. Just rip
Yeah.
the band-aid off and get into it. And then everything will roll downhill. Because that's important. You don't want to say, "Oh, well, I could do this tomorrow."
Yeah. Or if
Just
you
just do it
struggle
now.
with motivation,
Do it
put
now.
yourself into a job. It can be at home job that does have regular business hours or set, limits, because like for
Yeah.
me with my personality, when I was on maternity leave with my 3 kids, I always thought, oh, I'll work. Well, if no one's putting a gun to my head, I'm not going to work. So,
Very true.
so it's one thing to be
Very true.
motivated,
There's no gun to
then
your head.
sometimes it's good to be in a place where you're structured. Like with iTutorGroup, they required so many hours a week, and then you could do bonus on top of that. Yeah.
That was very
But
good. Exactly.
anyway,
So having
we
having
sure
that there was
we
good.
sure talked about a
Yeah.
lot of things
Anyway,
today. Hey, I'm sorry
yes,
that
we did.
it turned out this way for you, and I think for all of us that have, kind of weathered this storm. I
It's
know it's
not your
not.
fault,
It's
so
just
don't
it's
worry.
a sad time, and I know that this is kind of like a
Yeah,
a, a
it
tricky a
is.
tricky thing to navigate. I know you just moved, so best of luck to you as you are traversing new waters. And you know what?
Thank you.
Sometimes when you have an unexpected job change, it's pushing you now to think about that certificate
Yeah,
now.
it does.
So I
It
hope that
does.
you can find your way there
Exactly.
so that you can meet your next goals.
Ain't nothing to it but to
Thank
do
you,
it.
Elton. I knew that you'd
Basically.
sing today. When I brought you in,
Thanks
all
for
I could
having me.
think is your
Yeah,
smile
yeah.
and your singing, because I know that was a really big part of your classroom was just. And actually, I think about you a lot of times because I break into song now.
Yes.
After I heard you talk about that, I do it, and I think they like it. Most of them.
And that's
Yep.
I do it
Well,
all the
that's one
time.
thing I'm
So
taking away
yeah,
from my time with
the
you is
ones I
I
like it
sing
do.
a lot more in the classroom than I did before. So thank you for that. All
It
right, shall
works
we?
unless you
True.
can't sing.
True.
Yes.
All right.
We shall say goodbye.
Sounds
I'm
good.
gonna
He's been
eat dinner
making,
now.
what is it, barbecue in the oven?
Well, it's ribs, country style ribs. It's simple though. It's not real barbecued ribs, but it's not on the grill
But
yet.
you
We're not
made it
ready
in
for
your
that
oven.
yet.
Your
Not yet.
house smells, or your home smells delicious.
Yeah,
I bet.
it smells
All right.
good. It does smell good. I'm
Well,
smelling
this is
that.
April Malone with Elton Curtis, and this has been Yes, I Work From Home. See you next time.